tariffs went back into play yesterday, and I think that's a good thing. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, February the 2nd, and the year's already flying by as January closed the month with another stock market gain. Recession or not, we continue to see gains. Of course, we did see a fairly ugly week, which we'll talk about in our market commentary, but for the week they were down, for the month they were higher, and as I said yesterday, the tariffs went into play, and I think that's a good thing. I think that it's about time that we as Americans take back control and keep out our enemies and quit buying and supporting our enemies. I mean, again, you can feel whichever way you want. I'm a big fan of America. I'm an American first, and I want to see America take back charge of this world and get away from the globalism and everything else that we've seen. Again, we're not talking about our friends and our allies. We're talking about our enemies, especially China and others. So certainly, I love the tariffs, and the markets did not have a horrible reaction to the tariffs because everybody knew that yesterday was the day. And actually, you saw some solid movement in products that would be most affected, like the grain markets and others. We'll see how it eventually plays out. But I am a big fan, and I'm a big fan of rebuilding America with our own dollars, not sending our dollars to everybody else. And speaking of dollars, unfortunately, the broken Social Security system, which needs to be revamped and redone, is about a $23 trillion shortfall. And hopefully President Trump will change the age limits. Hopefully we will see something, because in all fairness to those who are working now and employed, you leave them the same, but I think you have to start with the new generation. That new Social Security retirement age is, let's say, 78 or 80, because people are living longer, they can work longer, and it makes more sense, okay, because the original Social Security plan, which was 90 years ago, was designed for most people to be dead before they would collect their benefits, paying in basically another tax, okay? And certainly, obviously, if I had my choice, it would be much better to make it mandatory for people to invest their Social Security money and let financial advisors take place and take care of it, and let the money grow, and have obviously laws and regulations not allowing the advisors to play with it, but allowing it to grow over time, even in standard investments. But again, that's a story for another day. But hopefully we will see some changes in Social Security for those, again, not those working now. Should be grandfathered in. But for the future generations, you have to make some changes here, because again, the government keeps spending our Social Security money on shit, and where do we end up in? We end up in another $23 trillion hole, which then does not allow for the cost of living, true cost of living adjustments and things like that. So we'll see. Another thing going on is, of course, we're seeing the U.S. cattle shrinks to 1951 lows as the beef crisis deepens. Again, I think that's been priced into the market. We'll see what that looks like. But of course, who can afford to buy beef? That's the next question. Who's running to the restaurants? But yes, there are some shortages. And of course, the polar vortex we just went through it did not help, because of course the cattle shiver and freeze and their weight falls. But again, I think that we're watching the United States. Hopefully, this will change. But from the last administration, we're watching things rot right before our very eyes. From the infrastructure to the business models to everything that we do, and hopefully we will see some dramatic changes. And I think you've already seen some going from Trump and some of the people he's gotten rid of, some of the executive orders that he's put in, and hopefully we will get laws passed that will benefit Americans instead of taking away from Americans. But it took $5.8 billion in debt, okay, to create $1 in growth for the future, okay. Again, I think that, again, we look at numbers that are numbers are never wrong, but the manipulation of numbers and the way that numbers are reported are wrong. And I refer you to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the jobs number. Okay, the government, which we will have jobs coming this Friday, of course, but the government reports off of the BLS, the U3, which is a 3-month look, which is not accurate to what really is going on, versus the U6. And the U6 will show you how bad the employment actually is. And of course, it is really bad. And the BLS has confirmed that the U.S. is now losing jobs in net business creation, which again, hopefully, the tariffs, hopefully everything that's going on will create new business and create new and better jobs. You know, I asked the other day by somebody about what about, the jobs we have here, which are not very good. Okay, obviously, unless you're in certain parts of it, but most of the service jobs that we do have, because we're more of a service nation, have gone overseas. I mean, when's the last time you called customer service and got an American operator? But again, that's a story for another day. Treasury Department's highest-ranking career official enraged quits after Musk Doge team probes payment system. Okay, and of course you've seen that President Trump has stopped the hiring of IRS agents, and hopefully we'll get back to reasonable income taxes and reasonable tax code, and we can see some dramatic changes there. But again, the IRS is a joke, okay, and we continue to pay worthless taxes, and especially in states, if you live in California, if you live in New York, if you live in Illinois, you are paying and giving away money for nothing. And I mean, you talk about your property taxes in those states, criminal. It's a joke of how much you have to pay to service your own property and pay to the government so they can piss the money away, because those 3 states that I just named are also the 3 states that are in the biggest amount of debt. Obviously, a big condolences goes out to all the families who lost people in the American Airlines crash into the helicopter. What's going on there, I don't know, but certainly something was wrong there. Okay, and I know we don't have the answers yet, but my condolences and thoughts and prayers. That is a very, very terrible thing that has happened. But of course, the FAA needs urgently to modernize their systems. Okay, we've been going on again. We have escaped with a bad power grid. We have escaped with a bad highway system. We have escaped with a lot of antiquated things in this country that need to be fixed. And as I've said in the past, every president since I've been voting has promised to fix the infrastructure. So far, 0 has done so. Hopefully, President Trump will do and take care of that. The Fifth Circuit Court has decided that the age limits on guns should not be changed at 18 years old, which is the year you're old enough to vote, you're old enough to go to war, and you should be old enough to own a gun. I think that it's, again, when we go to talk about guns, I am a believer in the Second Amendment. I do own guns, okay? But I think that at the end of the day, the criminals, the people that are bad, are going to get the guns, whether they're legal or not legal. And I think that is the one thing that we have to recognize, is that the criminals are always going to get the guns. And I think we have to stop trying to end the Second Amendment and focus on keeping the illegals out, which, of course, with the mass deportations that are going on, hopefully that will be a start, okay? Because, of course, there are a lot of gangs, and, of course, a lot of our illegal drugs and illegal firearms come from across the border. So hopefully we will see, and I'm glad to see that the deportations taking place. I thought it was interesting what happened in Colombia when Trump sent a plane full of them, and they turned the plane around, and they said, we'll pick up our own. I thought that was kind of interesting, but Trump tells Mexico and Canada, America first, and I agree, okay? I agree it should be America first, and again, I am a fan of tariffs, and I think that the tariffs will truly become, depending on how agreeable all of the world's countries will be, and some of the policies that Trump wants to put in play. Okay, I think that again, I think that will create more jobs in this country. I think it will create more money in this country. I think it will create better jobs in this country. So if we deport the people that don't belong to be here, if we deport the criminals, and we clean up some of these big cities like the sewer of San Francisco or Chicago or New York, where they turned them into a shithole, I think that we could be much better for business, and maybe we can bring back some of the commercial business to help the commercial real estate market, because obviously that's in big trouble. And again, I think that so far, so good for President Trump. And I think that we're seeing some changes in the system, and hopefully we will continue to see a destruction of the deep state and the cabal that is behind government, because certainly you have to admit that a lot of things that happen in this country make absolutely no sense, and certainly the people in power that are behind the scenes have to go. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, February the 2nd. And of course, we're going to step out here for a break. We'll be back with our market report right after the break. What's up, kids? Glad to have you aboard. As we said, we just finished a month of gains once again, as the markets know no boundaries. But in the meantime, remember, we do have sponsors that are part of the show, and of course that allows us to put it out to you all the time, and they are brokerage partners for the most part. Again, I do have other brokers, just to give you full disclosure, but Capital Trading Group, which is our partner in many of our futures programs, which have been kicking ass and doing very well, and their website is scrolling on the bottom or on the sides, and check them out. It's Capital Trading Group. And of course, TRADIER Brokerage, which is $10 a month in commission, saves me over $100,000 a year in commissions. And then there's ITM Trading, okay, who for all your gold and silver needs, and that's when I do interviews with Daniela Cambone. That's who she represents, and in fact, I'm doing one with her this Wednesday coming up, so we'll see. But they are great, and I do buy all my gold and silver myself from them. Their website is also on the sides and on the bottom. And of course, our brand new sponsor, Spooky Express, for those of you who like to wager a buck or two. He has a lot of the offshore representation at spookyexpress.com. And of course, don't forget about our high school program as we continue to try to educate our children. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horwitz, and of course, our market report. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday. It's February the 2nd. And of course, we had a good week last week, but markets had, obviously, we came into that Monday disaster and spent the rest of the week basically trying to come back. There was a little bit of volatility, but nothing great. We're still lacking some volume, and I think that we really need a big sell-off. And I don't mean one day; I mean a little bit of a start of a downtrend to see some price action. I'm not going to predict which way we're going to go from here right now. As you know or don't know, I am always net long. I am hedged, okay, which I believe is the ultimate, that you can stay long. But I do trade from the short side in short-term trades. In the meantime, we'll see what happens. Again, I'm not making any predictions, and I disclose my positions. The Fed left things unchanged well, gee, what a shock. They're only making 220 basis points more. The banks that own the Fed, they gave themselves a raise to make more money and fucked everybody else, because you're not getting a break on your interest rates. You didn't get a discount on your loan. But at the end of the day, again, this is the system, and this is why we need more of the free market system to come into play, because interest rates should be higher. Okay. Again, I know those of you who are in your teens or 20s in 2008 don't know any better, but the country did just fine when mortgage rates were 8%. Okay. So again, and 9% and 10%. Okay. But again, it comes back to all the things we talk about. In the meantime, as I said, the Fed did nothing, which made sense. And of course, I don't like the fact that Trump is calling for lower rates, because all it does is create more problems. But at the end of the day, we'll see how it works out. I mean, I'm sure him and Jerome Powell are not on the best of speaking terms, and we'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, when we look at the markets, as I said, we are now going to be flat. We are still long the NASDAQ as of this moment, but tonight we will be flattening out, or tomorrow morning, we'll be flattening our NASDAQ position. Okay, and we'll be flat the major indices. The euro currency, which we were long, we will be going flat tonight again or tomorrow. The dollar, which we don't trade, but we would be still short. We'd still be long the dollar if we did trade it, but we no longer do. We'll be going flat on bonds and notes. Okay, as we believe that as the markets have indicated, that the interest rates are going to start going higher again. Okay, gold. we will be flattening out as well, and gold has had a monster move. As you saw, it was up, I think, $90 on Thursday. Silver, we have no position, but silver's made a nice little move as well. Platinum continues to move, is back over 1,000, which is nice to see. If you remember, at one time platinum was over gold, and now it's under by a third. It's the 2/3 under gold. But in the meantime, we don't trade it; it's not liquid enough. But it would be certainly one that I like to buy. Copper is lower; we have no position. In the grain markets, we're still short corn, we're still short beans, and we're still flat wheat. I would think that again, I'm looking for one more push down, and then I think we'll cover and look for a spot to get long, because I do believe that the markets knew about the tariffs and did not react adversely. Cattle, I am still short personally. Again, we don't trade it anymore, but I am still short personally. I am still looking for a spot to buy, to get long hogs. Crude oil continues to be lower. We continue to be short, and natural gas continues to work its way lower. And for all those of you who cried and bitched how could you be short when natural gas is $4, well, now it's $3. Again, remember, markets have a tendency to price in information before it gets there. Okay, so, but I will tell you this for your own edification: just don't get too aggressive here. The markets are not ready for aggression. I think it's more important to look for key spots. Overbought, oversold. A lot of earnings again this week. We had Apple last week which popped, was up about $10 in the pre-market and fell apart. So a lot of earnings this week again. So let's let that play out before we get too crazy. But certainly look for overbought or oversold conditions for short-term trades, and that's the way I see it here. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, top of our Horwitz. We'll step out for our final break and come back with our commentary right here on Bubba's Bottom Line. Well, kids, again, you know our sponsors, you know their brokers, you know that I have other brokers, just to give full disclosure. Again, Capital Trading Group, TRADIER Brokerage, ITM Trading, Spooky Express, and of course our high school program. All the websites are on the website when you see the video. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with, of course, my commentary. We'll get back to it right now. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, February the 2nd. And, of course, obviously, lots of things going on. And certainly we opened up with Social Security and tariffs. And, again, I believe that the Social Security system is broken down. I believe that that Trump needs to change Social Security. I think he needs to change the way it's taxed. I think he needs to change the way we collect it and when we can collect it. And I certainly think that you cannot expect it to continue when it's already at a $23 trillion shortfall. Now, tariffs aren't going to help that, but I do think tariffs are best for this country. Yes, maybe we'll have to pay a little bit more for products that are made in this country, but I think we have to have the option. I think that we've given up far too much of our power of our farming out. Okay, and obviously you've seen the AI out of China, which is not really a surprise. I mean, what did you think they were going to sit there? I mean, China's been known to come to trade shows of equipment and take pictures and have it manufactured faster than America. But I do believe that we as Americans need to rebuild and make our country better. Even if you have to pay a little bit more for your goods and services, I think you can earn more by bringing back better jobs to this country. Okay, I don't think there's a lot of great jobs in this country, and certainly the ability for entrepreneurship has been greatly diminished because it's too hard to compete with the big guys. We've destroyed the small business. The Biden administration did massive destruction, and again, not only Biden. Again, going back years, they have been systematically destroying the ability for small business. Just remember this: as a free market capitalist, you need competition to give fair pricing to all people. Without free markets, without competition, you destroy the pricing model. And I thank everybody. There is no football today. My early Super Bowl pick is Kansas City. I'll have some props during the week. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much. And this is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, February the 2nd.